Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Reframing Eye Care podcast. Today, I have an optometrist from the UK, Peter Greedy. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. It's a nice day here and nice to join you, Maria.
Yeah, it's great to have you on because I wanted to talk about workplace culture. I know there's
Mhm.
been a lot of, toxic work environments over the years, the doctors that I've talked to over the years, and I wanted to have someone on that, has experience with this, has done different roles with executive coaching, leadership training, team building, is certified, and recently you started, an organization called Coaches and Mentors in Optics, and I wanted to get you on to kind of talk about that. How did that start to start this organization and help ODs? There's not a lot of doctors that kind of get into that tough spot.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been in optics for 40 years myself. I've worked in practice. I've also worked in the corporate side on the supplier side for one of the big suppliers. And over the years, I've experienced all sorts of stuff. And then when COVID happened, um, I actually, as I'm a locum, and I had no optometry work for a while, as probably quite a few listeners might have. Um, and actually, in chatting with people, I got into talking about coaching and how to help people. I'm really interested in leadership, and then as I've done that in the last 5 years, I've been aware that I've met several people from the profession who are involved as coaches or mentors or getting in a bit of to do with well-being. And I just thought, well, I've met a few people, but there's no kind of place for us to chat like peers about what is well-being within our profession. What are the workplace cultures like? And there have been some reports in the UK just highlighting the level of burnout, of stress, anxiety within the profession. So I just thought I took the initiative to just say, let me reach out to colleagues within the UK profession to say, who's interested in maybe kind of coming together as a group. And I called it Coaches and Mentors in Optics. And I thought there might be maybe a dozen people that I knew, probably eight or nine people involved in this sort of stuff. Put something out on LinkedIn, and now we've got over 40 people in the UK who are coming to me saying, "Hey, I see you're doing stuff about toxic workplace cultures and environments and stuff like that. There's research saying that this and the interest has been way more than I expected." So that's kind of the origins of it, and we're hoping to kind of just build on that and see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think it's a big topic. And in my Facebook group, there's a big topic with toxic work culture. I've written articles about burnout. There's been surveys about burnout. It's real. I mean, and I think it's been much more now since COVID. And but because there's a doctor shortages
Sure.
and some of the unrealistic expectations working for certain organizations. And I like to highlight those things because I want to have doctors feel like they're not alone in this. And,
Yeah,
we went to school to help people, but we have to take care of ourselves too, to take care of those people.
sure.
So, I mean, you're pretty qualified, but, tell us about like all your leadership and coaching training over the years too, because you've done a lot of training yourself to be able to do this.
Yeah, so my particular role in training started when I worked in corporate. I was trained by a psychologist in questioning and listening skills, and I rolled that out to salespeople. So this is going back 25 years, and since then, deciding in 2020 to kind of go forward professionally as a coach, I've done various courses. There's plenty of stuff available online, and then as you build up your coaching hours and your understanding, and you very similar to the qualifications of optometry, you have to do peer groups, you have to do CPD, etc. So I've now attained the professional coaching credential with the Association for Coaching, which is one of the big global coaching organizations. And I'm actually, because I'm fascinated by the topic, I've just started a PhD in coaching psychology. And I'm going to specialize in looking at workplace culture and how to measure it, how to assess it, and then how do we actually then help improve the workplace culture for us all, for all employees working within this. And of course, these are all transferable skills. So whilst my history is in the optical profession as an optometrist, these skills apply to anyone. They can be used in work, outside of work, in any other profession, in your marriage relationship, in your parenting relationship with your friends, etc. They're all people skills of how we actually, instead of just being focused on chasing the numbers and then end up compromising, how we behave, how we treat people, just for the sake of pulling in the numbers and because of the pressure and the number of appointments we have to get through, etc. It's like, actually, let's step back. Let's focus on looking after ourselves and the people. If you're a business owner or a leader, how do you look after those people? And how do you go about that? We're trained as clinicians. We're not trained as people managers. And I think there's a whole bunch of skills that, whilst we might be very good with our patient chairside manner, if you like, in terms of dealing with our colleagues and managing people, it's not skills that we're taught, but there are absolutely skills that we can learn for ourselves, and then pass those on as leaders if we're interested and so inclined.
Yeah. So I've been practicing almost 20 years now. So I've kind of looked back on my journey over the years, and some of those people are not with us anymore in leadership roles that they were at, and some of them are short-lived. And then now I have people reaching back to, be reintroduced into an organization. And I said, well, I'm thinking in my head, you had these relationships with upper management over the years. Why have they not helped you? Why are you reaching out to the doctors now, right? If you were good with your staff, you took care of your doctors, the people that work for you, you're good. I always said that, you need me to go to work so you can keep your job. So that was evident during COVID. If I don't go to work and see patients, there's no numbers to watch, right? And then word gets around in the eye care. It's such a small community. But I think it is important as a leader to realize that, and also the impact that they make for a long period of time when they make a decision on families. It's not just the optometrist family, things like that kind of last longer than what they've been there for. Tell us what challenges you've seen with healthcare professionals and business owners. And I think I just touched on some of those, but let's talk about those too, because these are real things that, doctors experience and don't know how to, react to them.
Yeah, sure. So like I say, I think, we're not necessarily trained we're really well trained clinically, how to diagnose eye conditions or prescribe spectacles. We're not really trained necessarily on the business management side or the people management side. And I think that's where some of the challenges really, really happen. And I think it's partly the pressure that we're actually under to deliver. And we're talking about, sometimes we've got tough news to share with people around their eye health and their vision, and how we deal with that is actually some of the same ways in which we can deal with our colleagues, with a bit more compassion, with a bit more empathy, with more understanding. So in terms of the pressures, we still run businesses, we still have to earn a living, and there's a high demand, as we know. The demand for eye care and for professional healthcare for the eyes is only going to increase as the aging population increases. So we're constantly dealing and under just multiple pressures. And what we're seeing in the reports is that that means doctors and optometrists are burning out, because their time is challenged, their resources are challenged. And it kind of snowballs, in my opinion. I think, we end up cutting a little corner just to think, I can save a bit here or save a bit there, whether that's time, money, investment in training or whatever. And slowly the standards slip, and we're not really aware of it, but we're just chasing those, the KPIs that we set for our businesses are very much performance based. They're not people based. But the research is clear in all industries that if you look after the people, particularly in any sort of customer facing organization, The people look after the customers, the clients, the patients, whatever that is. And that means that then the business goes well. And if you're an independent business owner, that genuinely adds to the bottom line, because you generate better customer satisfaction, which generates better customer loyalty, which generates often higher spend from those customers, etc. But we got to take that step back to say, actually, where am I focusing? The challenge, I believe, is this requires behavior change. It's a culture change. And the problem with that, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a steady, long-term process. If I want to change a behavior or develop a new habit, we can't create new habits instantly. And we live in an instant society. We want everything now, right? And that's what we end up chasing. So I think taking a step back is key for us all. Just saying, okay, let's take the slightly longer term view. Let's think about what we need to invest in. Don't see it as cost. It's an investment. It's an investment in our people. It's an investment in the business. And all of that will pay dividends longer term, but it doesn't necessarily generate instant results. But I think if we take that investment approach, it's just like investing in the stock market. Gosh, we've seen it go up and down and up and down, but eventually that slope gradually keeps going. Yeah, if you ride it out. And I think that's the sort of longer term approach that we need to take with investing in our people.
Yeah. I think there was a saying, and it's not a quote, direct quote, but it was like, if people don't remember what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's within an organization too. Whether it's just talking to someone, just saying hi, sending an email, something like that from upper leadership that acknowledges these people. I work at the store levels over the years, and these people are invested. They put so much time, these opticians, 25 years working for an organization, and some of them just want a little acknowledgement to say, hey, did a great job. Or, if they took a time off, to say, yes, you deserve it, right? I have my own practice. And yes, my staff is as good as I am. If they don't do a good job, I can't do it, right? And they deal with a lot of issues that I don't have to deal with front desk things and optical stuff and billing and all these other things. But I've noticed that you take care of your staff. If they're stressed, you give them time. I told my office mate, if you need time, I'll give you time. Tell me what you need so you can be better. But I need, this is what I need this month or whatever. Or whatever the case is. Just tell me what you need and we can do it. I don't want this to be a place where nobody wants to come to work. I need them to be at their best so I can be at mine, and that I don't have to get burnt out doing extra stuff. And I've been at that position where I've been burnt out, and you don't want to work, you don't want to do your job, and it's not right. But I think you can create loyalty in a practice, and people are loyal if you take care of them, and it's not hard. I think it's just little things. It's little things at times, right?
Yeah, I agree, Maria. I think I love that. It's Maya Angelou, I think, who said, about it's how people made you feel, and it's a beautiful sentiment. And a lot of the work I do actually engages with feeling. Where the way our neurology works, is our feelings kick in, half a second before our cognitive brain kicks in, and sometimes we can't control that reaction. It's just that's who we are, and that's how we react. And I think one of my favorite things, though, just to think a bit about, that loyalty. We can talk about customer loyalty, but I think staff loyalty is really important to be thinking about. And one of my favorite sayings when I do some training work is ask yourself, what, as a boss, right, as the leader of your staff, what's the story behind their story? So what we see, as human beings, we're fantastic at putting on a role that, we're going to the office and we put on our professional costume, if you like. Behind all of that, we're still emotional creatures. And there's a whole bunch of things that could be going on behind all of that in the home, that says, maybe they're struggling financially. Maybe a relative's just passed away. Maybe there's challenges with relationships. Maybe their kids are going through tough times. Maybe they haven't got someone to pick up their kids from school or whatever. There's loads and loads of challenges that just sits behind that often as bosses, we don't actually see or are not aware of. And I think having that, for me, I think it's all about emotional intelligence, and it's that simple 4-step process of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and social management. That's the 4-step process of emotional intelligence. And it starts with us trying to understand ourselves, all right, but then also empathizing with our staff, right, and what's going on for them. And as you say, it's not just a case of throwing money at them, all right, because that doesn't necessarily fix their challenges. So it's that being understanding and being flexible to say, well, actually, if your childcare has let you down and you've got to come in half an hour late because you've got to do the school drop off or whatever and take the kids to school, okay, that's fine. Let's look at your schedule. Let's make some accommodations, and we can be a bit more flexible. I think going out, my encouragement to all business owners is just to kind of just talk more to your staff. Ask them what it's going like, because we don't know what they're bringing with them. Okay, and they and they might be holding themselves together and being right on a knife edge of being fantastic or falling apart. We just don't know at any moment because we're very good at hiding that. So I think as business owners, as leaders within the profession, it's on us to actually reach out to people and say, help me understand, okay, what's going on, help me, what I can do. It's quite often we're fixers, right? In the healthcare profession, we diagnose and we fix, we prescribe. I think sometimes we need to say, actually, I'm not here to fix. I want you to tell me how I can help you fix yourself. So we need to be enablers and actually stop prescribing, because I think a lot of people, I talk about empathy quite a lot. A lot of people say, oh, empathy is me putting myself in someone else's shoes. That's not true empathy. True empathy is me understanding what it's like to be that person in their shoes. Because if I'm a cis, straight, tall, white bloke, okay, if I put myself in their shoes, I deal with their situation the way I would deal with it, okay, but that's not how they deal with it. And if we don't understand how they are able to deal with it and what their strengths and weaknesses are, so it's all about that communication, reaching out, asking questions, sometimes being a bit vulnerable to help them to open up, because they see us as this person that's the big boss who's all got it all together. I think a little bit of vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. Okay, that's a very, seeing vulnerability as a weakness is toxic, in my opinion, as part of it. And I think we just need to be a bit more open, a bit more caring, asking more questions of our team and saying, how can I help you? Because I value you. I need you here. I can't do business without you. So I need you to be at your best. So it's in my best interest to really say, what can I do to help you be at your best as well?
So I'm all about personal development. For me to be a better doctor or leader or office man, so I need to get better. But it's also helping the people that you feel that, you can help develop. And I think I've developed some great staff members over the years. They had some potential. They didn't know they had it. And now they're rock stars. Do you think that people skills are learned? Can you figure out their innate strengths? Do they have it? They don't have it. But I think sometimes it's just kind of just nudging them a little bit and saying, look, you can do this. If you make a mistake, it's okay. I'll back you up. But everyone learns from things, right? So what is your take on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people just think I either am this or I'm not this. And actually, when it comes to these people skills and etc., they're absolutely learnable. All right, any skill is learnable, and sometimes and we're very, we've got a lot of neuroplasticity as human beings, so we can change. I think the key is, are they willing to change? Are they willing to learn? All right, sometimes we're trying to teach people and change people who are not willing or ready to change. And I think step one is let's think about how can we, what's the value in changing rather than just resisting change. But I think as soon as you open yourself up to say, yes, actually, I can see the benefits. Thank you for investing in me. I want to develop. I want to grow. I want to change. I want to be better. That's the crucial step just to get you started. And then there's a whole bunch of programs out there and training, etc., and coaching and mentoring, all of these things, right, that will actually be available for us to use to then help both ourselves grow and change, but also help our staff grow and change as well.
Perfect. Can you give us maybe some things that are overlooked that might be a toxic workplace that we might not consider as a business owner? And then how can we embrace developing people to make it a safe work environment?
Yeah, sure. So I think I think one of the things that's often overlooked is just how we speak to people. I think there's a lot of negative humor. There's a lot of passive aggressive ways in which we speak to people. So we try to make a point by making a joke of it. And I think that's for me, that's really toxic. I think passive aggressive is really unhealthy. So I think there's so many areas that we can look at, but addressing that, thinking about that, actually being a bit more straightforward in how we speak. I think being more inclusive in our decision making, seeking out the opinion of other people. One of the things I often say in group work to doctors and optometrists is like, hey guys, in certain areas, you know what you're doing, but let me tell you, as far as managing people and looking after people, most of your staff will have just as good, if not better, answers. You're not right all the time, and I think we kind of, can put ourselves a bit on a pedestal, and we just need to step down off that, get onto the same level as our colleagues. We're all human beings together, and just say, hey, let's grow together. Let's, instead of me constantly, as I say, it's that fix it attitude that I talked about earlier. We're good at fixing stuff when it comes to eyes. That's what we do. We're not necessarily so good at fixing it for other people, and we need to just be more collaborative, asking people how we can help and working with them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's very nice to have a new organization for eye care professionals to talk about this. And, I learned a lot. I think there's a lot that can be learned. And I think it's this part of learning for a business owner and leadership is ongoing. It never really stops, right? There's a lot of different, scenarios and things like that. And what I've noticed over the years that staff members are more loyal when you include them, when you respect them, and you listen to them, right? And like you said, sometimes it's not just giving them a raise; it's just giving them time or something that they want. It's not always about money, and people will stay and help you grow because of it. I have been very successful over the years because of my staff members, and I always say it. I can't do what I do without the key staff members that I have, and I notice it when they go on vacation.
Sure. Yeah, quite.
Yeah. So thank you so much. If somebody wants to reach out to you, is there an email?
Yeah. So email is just hello@petergreedy.com, or just look me up on LinkedIn, Peter Greedy. I think I'm the only one, and you'll find me there. And I'd love to chat to colleagues in the profession for sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Great chatting to you, Maria.